Fair warning, this show contains strong language and adult themes from time to time. Sorry, Jerry can't help it.
Sick Boy Wolfgang Productions presents The Offering with Jerry Horror. A deep dive into the history of film and its filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre.
Now available in paperback, hardcover, and ebook. Icons of Fright. 100 interviews with legendary horror filmmakers. You can now own the greatest collection of horror interviews ever assembled. From the Universal monsters to modern-day meta, there's something here for every horror fan to sink their fangs into. Icons of Fright. 100 interviews with legendary horror filmmakers. Available now on Amazon from Harker Press.
It's always Halloween at the Haunted House of Hamburgers, Long Island's only Halloween-themed restaurant. At Haunted House of Hamburgers, they are obsessed with both Halloween and hamburgers, so why not have the best of both worlds every day? Salivate over their delicious hamburgers during Boo Brunch, along with their Witch's Brew and Crypt Keeper cocktails. Or take a stab at the undead desserts, such as Ice Cream Sundaes, with your bobbing for apple pie. My favorites are the Afterlife alcoholic shakes. I'd go for the Pentagram Passion Fruit, or the Exorcism Espresso Martini Shake, or my go-to, the Loch Ness Monster Lobster Rolls. This place is fun as hell. They even encourage you to come dine in, dressed in costume. Your kids will love that. Or that could be one hell of a memorable first date. They're not going to forget that, right? Here's a little insider tip. For a far-out, trippy dining experience, ask your waiter for 3D glasses. It's pretty rad, let me tell you. Located at 330 Fulton Street in Farmingdale, New York, it's the restaurant that looks like a haunted house. You won't miss it, I promise. Make Haunted House of Hamburgers your year-round Halloween destination. Welcome to The Offering with me, your host, Jerry Horror. Each week we take a deep dive into the history of film and filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre. Please take a moment to subscribe to our show wherever you find your favorite podcast to stay up to date on future episodes. Coming up, several lead actors from the original film opted out of returning to the sequel because they hated the script so much. If adding up all backflips, front flips, and side flips together, there are a total of 54 of them present in this film. The game creators of which this movie is based on hated the movie so much they considered it the worst experience ever working on the whole franchise. Stay tuned, you are not going to want to miss this.
Creepy classics, modern fights. Jerry guides us through the nights. Horror's history in the lights. Exploring endless chills and heights. George Romero, lost footage and hidden gems. Director's visions, dark diadems behind the scenes. We're taking their insightful whispered secrets we share. Sam Raimi. The Offering with Jerry Horror. Stories old and new. Jason Kruger, Bruce Campbell. Genre twists that shake your core. Every episode, we craving more. Mostly horror, always genre.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, this is your old pal, Uncle Jerry, Jerry Horror. This is The Offering. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? How have you been? So happy you're here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and we appreciate that. So, what have you been up to? Have you been getting into any Halloween shenanigans? Have you been carving your pumpkins and making Pillsbury Doughboy cookies that are Halloween themed? Did you recently take your 1-year-old baby to the pumpkin patch? And baby has no idea what's going on? Say, hey, let's take the baby to the cider mill. Baby doesn't give a shit about this site. Baby's like, what is this? What's going on? You know that the parents do that for themselves. It's for the photo ops. Are you going to dress the baby up like a pumpkin this year? Yeah, you are. I think that every baby should at least be a pumpkin for Halloween at least once, right? Because it's like, hey, what are you going to do? I mean, the kid can't walk. Just put him in a fucking pumpkin. Nobody gives a shit. It's like, no one cares. But that's what it's about. It's about fun. People are going ham. And I've said this before, but people spend more disposable income on Halloween than they do on Christmas now. So it really is a different world. It's insane, too. Like Spirit Halloween, they have expanded their product lines. It's incredible. I'm a big fan of the Scrub Daddy and the Scrub Mommy to clean my dishes. Now they have a scary Scrub Daddy that's exclusively to Spirit. And I popped into Spirit. I'm like, oh man, I need to get one of these Halloween Scrub Daddies. And they were like sold out. And now I go online and there's resellers and they're reselling the Halloween themed Scrub Daddy. And I'm like, what world are we living in? I can't just go buy a sponge from Spirit Halloween, which is the weirdest thing too, that I'm going in there as a 46-year-old man. And I'm saying like, oh, I need this household item at Spirit. It's not even like I'm there for, like, oh, I need to get the Terrifier Art Krispies cereal. Oh, speaking of Terrifier, this was really interesting. And Damien Leone, the director of Terrifier, responded to it, which is even wilder. 2025 is wild. So there's Halloween Horror Nights, and my dad is a huge Halloween Horror Nights head. He's going to be going probably this week or next week. He likes to know about the movies that are going to be appearing. So he's seen a lot of the stuff. Like he's seen Friday the 13th. He's seen Chucky. But this year is the first year that they're having Terrifier. They're having Art the Clown. It's insane because it also speaks about movie marketing and where we might be moving into the future with that. Because I'm thinking, like, if you had a movie and, like, you're trying to get it popping, dude, put it at Halloween Horror Nights. I mean, obviously they go after things like Killer Clowns and Five Nights at Freddy's, like known IPs. But you could really, I think if you have a character and you have something that'll work, then the reason I say this is because most people have not seen the Terrifier films. Like, I've seen all of them in the theaters, except for the first one, because that was really hard to catch in theaters, but I saw the second one like opening night, and these were like sold out theaters. And it's the diehard, the gore hounds, and the real deep lore fans of the Terrifier series. People dressing up in costume, and the kids. We took my friend's kids to Terrifier 3, and they were so excited. They were like, I'm like, this is a moment. This is, Art's having this moment where like he's like this generation's Freddy Krueger, which is really cool. But they've included Art in Halloween Horror Nights this year, and he's coming out on the tricycle, and he's, they have actors playing Art, and he's waving with people and doing photo ops. So my dad had not seen the films, and he's like, I really need to brush up on this. I really need to. So he watched not one, but he watched 2 of the Terrifier films, and now he even watched where Art kind of originated from, the All Hallows Eve stuff. And I put this on X, and Damien Leone responded. I'm like, my dad is 75 years old. I guess like we assume what a 75-year-old's tastes will be and what they're going to do, but that's unfair. So he's like, I really have to watch that third movie. I'm kind of curious as to what happens. And like, it's a complete gore show. My dad usually likes stuff that's more action or science fiction, but man, Dad loves Art the Clown. Damien Leone, thank you. Hopefully we can get you on the show soon. It's something that I've been angling towards. There will be an incoming photo of my dad with Art the Clown. He's very excited. Dad is very excited to meet Art the Clown. I think it's going to be fantastic for him. I hope he has a memorable experience. Listen, I keep telling you guys, if you have written a letter or review a letter, like it's 2025, like handwritten letter. 'Twas a fortnight ago that I listened to The Offering. If you send us these reviews, if you go on our pod page or Apple or any of those ones. So this is a 5-star review from our good pal Mark D. Regular listener since season 2. I've been listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror for a few years now, and I genuinely look forward to the fall run every season. Jerry has a knack for digging up all those weird behind-the-scenes details and troubled production stories that most podcasts either gloss over or don't even bother with. That's the real strength of this show. He clearly does his homework. That said, I think season 4 was a bit uneven. For example, the Boz Button episode was fun, and Jerry's enthusiasm for 90s action cheese is infectious. But I felt like he skimmed through some of the actual production hurdles. It leaned way more into summarizing the movie than unpacking why it became a cult oddity. When Jerry does get into the deep cuts, like Michael Douglas pulling his name from the credits, that's when the show shines. I wish there were more of that than play-by-play recaps. On the flip side, the Halloween special, The Pixelated Predator, was exactly the kind of thing that I tune in for. Obscure title, wild production backstory, and the tragic what-could-have-been horror video game crossover. Jerry nailed the balance of nostalgia, trivia, and critique. More of this energy, please. The St. Patrick's Day Liam Neeson special was a fun detour, but it kind of felt like filler compared to his usual format. I like when Jerry ties episodes to holidays, but this one stretched thin. It came off like a filmography overview more than a production trouble story. Oof, still enjoyable, but not essential listening. Overall, I think Jerry's at his best when he sticks it to his lane, cursed productions, overlooked genre films, and little nuggets of trivia that make you go, no way, that really happened? And that's why I keep listening, because I love to see Season 5 tighten up its focus back on messy behind-the-scenes war stories that make The Offering unique. Mark D., this is an incredibly well-written review. I mean, it's fantastic. And thank you for listening to the show. I always try to balance it out. I do like the troubled production history. We have a film coming up that was kind of difficult because it was a smaller movie and there's less dirt. With that being said, it was kind of hard to really give you an inside look into the film because there wasn't much to look inside. So you're going to get a mix sometimes of these episodes. I think sometimes people are curious to know. It's kind of a split. Some people really like the behind the scenes stuff and other people seem to like my critique or what I have to say about the film itself. If you can, go to YouTube and watch the Offering St. Patrick's Day special, the Liam Neeson overview. It kind of hasn't gotten love, and I was really hoping that with The Naked Gun coming out, which was absolutely hysterical, I loved it. Liam Neeson has fantastic comedy chops. The special didn't do what I thought it would do, and that's okay. Because I think a lot of times when you see YouTube creators, podcasters, creators in general, they don't take chances. And I felt like the Liam Neeson thing was a chance that we took. It kind of underperformed, and I hope at some point it finds its audience. But definitely check it out if you haven't seen it, because I think Liam Neeson's a very important figure, not just in action cinema, but cinema. He's one of a kind. You know, he's kind of a weird figure that he's had this really reputable acting career doing films like Schindler's List, and then on the flip side, now he's doing The Naked Gun. So it's a good career trajectory, and it's important to try new things. Unfortunately, sometimes you alienate your audience. And you look at guys like the Angry Video Game Nerd, like James Rolfe, and he's been doing the Angry Video Game Nerd since he was like a teenager. He's tried new things, he's done new things, he really aimed to be a filmmaker, but unfortunately what's kind of happened is people just want to see him do the Angry Video Game Nerd because there's nostalgia and love for that character. But I do think sometimes creators get trapped because they'll do a video or they'll do a podcast and it's about Jurassic Park. And then everybody just wants Jurassic Park content. And I think that you can do that if you're passionate about it. But if you're doing it just for the sake of like, oh, well, I know it's going to garner clicks, and now you're depending on that secondary income or whatever it is, I think that's a bit of a trap, and you should always kind of avoid that. But look, a good example is Red Letter Media. Red Letter Media started with, obviously, they broke out with the episode 1 thing, and now they've progressed, and they're doing an overview right now of Joe Dante's career. And that's exactly what they should be doing. They've morphed into this other thing, and I think that that's important. Sorry, I get crazy. Mark D., I want to thank you for this review, and I definitely will take that into account. This episode today you're going to absolutely love because, Jesus Christ, it was one of the most troubled production histories in the history of troubled production histories. So as I've said, aforementioned, despite my father's love of the Terrifier films, I really desperately want to get Damien Leone. So if anybody has any hooks with him, I know he's a Staten Island guy. I'm over here in New York and Long Island. So if we could make that happen, I'd really appreciate it. I hate going through booking agents. I hate going through management. It's just, it feels dirty. And I understand that's how the business works, but it is what it is. The other guest that I really desperately want is Diana Prince, aka Darcy the Mail Girl from Joe Bob. I think she is obviously a beautiful woman, but if you get past that, she has an incredible story and a really fascinating career trajectory. And I feel like we've gotten a lot of deep dive interviews with Joe Bob. And hey, look, listen, Joe Bob's like one of my biggest heroes, and I would love to make that happen as well. I feel like Diana really hasn't been able to tell her story. I want to give her the platform to be as sincere, honest, and forthright about everything that she's done. And I think she's incredibly talented. I love Elvira. Elvira's great, but we've been kind of looking for who's next. And I think that Diana has her own flavor and her own way of approaching the whole Scream Queen thing. So to me, that's the big get. If anybody has any contacts with her, and I've interacted with her, we go back and forth on social media, but I definitely think that it's time for us to stop flirting and start taking this seriously. And if you can, reach out to her. Say, listen, why don't you do the offering? Why don't you talk to old Uncle Jerry? Because the thing is I know that I can take her 12 rounds. Look, I know she wants to promote all the stuff with AEW. She probably wants to promote all the stuff with The Last Drive-In. I want to know her story, and I'm very curious to see all the things that she has to say. So Diana, if you're listening to this, you know, I want to sit down with you. Let's make this happen. Whenever you're in New York, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, we will make it happen. We will show up if you show up. That is my impassioned plea, not only for Damien Leone, director of Terrifier films, but for Diana Prince, because no offense, Damien, she's much prettier than you. So it's time, folks. It's time for the main event. Wow. This film, Jesus Christ, this is a bad movie today. I don't even know. Listen, if you don't like bad movies, it's time for you to just shut the pot. I don't want you to, but it's time for you to, this is the point of no return. Like you have your opportunity now to say, well, I heard the cold open, heard a nice letter. We know that Jerry has a crush on Diana Prince and possibly Damien Leone, but maybe for those people who are a little scared, you should turn around, because this is a crazy story, as per usual. A lot of production history. I know our pal Mark D is going to love this, because Jesus Christ, I loaded this one up. But you're going to have to wait until after the break to hear about this truly atrocious movie from the 90s. Stay tuned. Let's go back to the 90s. Do you guys remember the 90s? Are you too young to remember the 90s? Well, if you don't, and you are too young and you're listening to this show, you will remember that all of Gen Z loves the 90s. The 90s are back, baby. This is it, Producer Pete. We're back. We're back in the 90s, man. It's our time to shine. All the stuff we loved, like Face Off. We loved Boogie Nights, all those great movies. So wouldn't it be nice for us to talk about a film that, you know, I love, Producer Pete loves? No, this is a terrible, terrible film. Very rarely do I say this. The film we're covering today might be a war crime, technically, and a crime against humanity and an atrocity in general. It is a terrible movie. There's some fantastic cleavage, but that's about where it ends. So let's go back, let's rewind maybe to the early 90s. I remember when the first Mortal Kombat machine, it landed at my local timeout, Smith Haven Mall. Shout out to the Smith Haven Mall. Used to be a great place. Now it's just like, it's for like upper crust white people. They're at Columbia, like North Face. I don't know what they sell there. I don't go to the mall. They first put those Mortal Kombat machines, and I remember seeing a bunch of kids huddled around it. And I saw the side cabinet. I was like, who are these guys? I'm like, it's martial arts. Well, I love martial arts. Obviously, my whole life I've done some form of martial arts. At this point, I was in Okinawan Ryukyu Kempo. I was probably just about to get my blue belt. I was super pumped. And I'm like, oh man, there's a new martial arts game. And I was a big Street Fighter head. Holy shit. My parents used to have a clothing store at Cheap John's. Another shout out to like all these Long Island weird places. But they had a clothing shop in Cheap John's. And I remember the day they put Street Fighter cabinet in the kind of like the lobby of the place. I drank over 40 liters of Dr. Pepper and ate like cheddar cheese combos and just plunked quarters into that machine. I was so addicted to Street Fighter 2. So now a new challenger has arrived. and it is Mortal Kombat at my local Timeout arcade. Remember arcades? They still have them, but it's not the same. They try to recreate the magic. They have like all these barcades and all this shit, and look, good on them. The new barcade down over in Manhattan has a big Time Cop poster, and I like that. Shout out to Barcade in Manhattan. Definitely any nod we can give to Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was supposed to be Johnny Cage. Unfortunately, Van Damme's people were like, no, we don't want you to be Johnny Cage. And he's like, okay, I guess I won't do it. He did Street Fighter for Universal, and they paid him $12 million. And now we've got this new Street Fighter movie that looks amazing. We have Jason Momoa as Blanca, which is something I never thought I'd see. But hey, again, as I always say, 2025 is wild. I remember this game coming into the mall. It was a game changer for video games. It was digitized actors, which had been done before with like Pit Fighter and stuff, but never like this. It was a movement for video games and youth culture at large. It was Bloodsport. It was Kung Fu movies. It was horror films. And it all had come to life in this video game. And you could control the action. It wouldn't be too long before the makers of Mortal Kombat, Midway, figured out, wait a second, there's other ways to make money with this property. And so they did.
Every generation, an ancient gateway opens that links the earth with another world. But this time, the ultimate evil has been released. Now, the fate of our planet is about to be decided.
Liu Kang, Sonya, Kitana, Jax, Jade, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Cyrax, Smoke, Shiva, Motaro. Fight.
Last time they fought for their lives. This time they're fighting for ours.
Excellent.
Before we get to all that, I think it's important that I preface that this film we're covering is Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which, can I just say, in 1997, a PG-13 movie, it might be one of the worst movies of 1997. I mean, you know, outside of Spawn, also another New Line joint.
Round one, fight!
So producer Lawrence Kasdan, he's basically like the daddy of everything Mortal Kombat. He said that Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the film itself, wasn't finished. Now, this alone explains everything right from the jump. Now, I know that probably some of this information has been out there for years, but I just didn't give a shit because I didn't have a podcast to talk about all this stuff. Once I found out that Mortal Kombat Annihilation was an unfinished film, basically what this was like a first draft. What you see in this finished film now is just the first pass. Lawrence Kasdan said that like the CGI effects weren't finished, some of the musical score wasn't finished, and they needed more time with the CGI, but they had this deadlocked time frame for the holidays because Thanksgiving. They wanted it to be coming out by the end of the year. And with that tight deadline, they just didn't have the time to finish it. It's really a shame. So for me, okay, right, like all in all, this film is completely rushed, right? And New Line Cinema just didn't give a shit. But the conclusion here is that this film was so rushed every step of the way, even through post-production. I feel in my heart, I want to say this right now, it is almost unfair for me to judge this film in any fair or proper manner because it is not a complete film. However, it is the film that New Line Cinema decided to release, and with that being said, we have to get into it. Therefore, within this episode, I will tell you, dear listener, I will not be punching down. I'm not going to just make fun of this movie. I'm not going to beat it up. It's a very easy movie to beat up on. Look, that's not how we get down here. And I'm not excusing the film by any means, but it is unfair to judge it considering what I know about the production history. Mortal Kombat Annihilation might just be the most troubled film we have ever covered, and that really is saying something because we've covered total shit shows. But Mortal Kombat Annihilation is very special because it's reckless. I could never say that about a film, but it is reckless from its production to its inception, everything, just top to bottom. Let's preface this. The 1995 Mortal Kombat film had been a huge success. The franchise had as a video game that had become a cultural phenomenon, even being parodied on The Simpsons as Bone Storm. You know, like you're sitting there as a little kid, like you're watching The Simpsons, Bone Storm. Like, I get that. That's supposed to be Mortal Kombat. I remember seeing Mortal Kombat in theaters with my cousin Justin. My mom, who's the coolest mom ever, took us to go see it. Justin's parents were a little bit more like, maybe he shouldn't be watching that, but you come to the Finari household, you watching whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter. It's got gore, it's got tits. Just cover your eyes. It'll be fine. Don't tell your parents that you saw this terrible film. And I think even at times, like my mother, she felt like, Jesus Christ, what am I showing these children? But she's like, all right, it's just a movie. They get it. These are smart kids. They're not going to go swallow Legos and light their buttholes on fire. On a budget of $22 million, director Paul W.S. Anderson would lead the film to rake in over $122 million. And as we know, if anything makes money, it'll make money again. It was the highest grossing video game based on a movie that was up until 1998 when it was dethroned by Pokemon the movie. Should have seen that coming. People love their Pokemon. Some would consider this the OG apex of the franchise. Mortal Kombat had invaded everything from movie theaters to toy lines. It is ingrained in the history of the 90s. It is tattooed on my body. I have the symbol on my chest. I don't know what I was thinking, but God, do I love this fucking movie. I love this game. It's crazy because when they did the 2021 version, our lead character, who I don't forget because he was so forgettable, has like a scar, and they're like, oh, it's a birthmark. It's not no birthmark that looks like the Mortal Kombat dragon. People have birthmarks. It's usually hideous, never a dragon. I was like, I have the tattoo on my chest. This was meant to be. I like that 2021 movie. We're not covering that today, but really an interesting film and cast appropriate. I was talking to a friend the other night, and he's an Asian guy, and he was saying to me, he's like, dude, he's like, fucking Christopher Lambert played Raiden? So this supposed to be a Chinese guy. And I'm like, eh. And then he's like, in the second film, they fucking recast him with James Remar. And I was like, it's a real cringe moment for all of us. And James Remar, who I liked from the Warriors and everything, was thrown off Aliens for doing heroin. All right, sorry, James Remar. I know you're at a convention somewhere saying, hey, remember me? I was in the Warriors. It's okay. Everybody's got to get their bag. No shade. From the 1998 founding of Rotten Tomatoes until 2018, Mortal Kombat had the highest critical rating on the site of any video game adaptation. Now that's incredible that it held that title for 10 years. This is a real big disappointment because we're getting into the timeline. There was an animated film. On April 11th, 1995, New Line Home Entertainment, in cooperation with Turner Entertainment, released a tie-in animated film which served as a pilot for a potential series. It was released on VHS and later Laserdisc. It was titled Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins. And I have to tell you, this thing sucks ass. I am such a nerd. There used to be what we call Super Tuesdays, and that's when the new CDs, that's when the new movies dropped. I was at the video store when they just opened. And there's a young girl, she's running the video store. She's probably completely hungover or like still stoned. And I was like, do you got the Mortal Kombat cartoon? And she's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, okay. Like, this is it, right? And I was like, oh my God, yes, that's it. And she takes it and she puts it on the shelf. She's like, I'm assuming you want to rent this. And I'm like, oh boy, do I ever. So I got this thing and I'm like, oh wow. I'm going to take the adventures of Mortal Kombat. The journey begins. And I took that thing home and man, was it a total shit show. It was barely animated. This was like the early days and like everything was still hand-drawn and the animation was just terrible. And it was largely a PG affair. So I was like, wait a second, where's all the fatalities? Nope, ain't getting no fatalities in Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins. And I feel like as far as movie tie-ins go, there was a lot of stuff in the 90s. Like, all of you fucking kids, all you do is bitch. Like, we just got a great Fantastic Four movie this year. Stop your bitching. I don't want to hear it. And the reason is because I lived through the 90s, and man, were there really shitty adaptations. Did you ever see the Justice League pilot from the 90s? It's terrible. It's a crime against man. So I don't want to hear any complaining. I will turn this car around if you kids keep up with this bullshit. There would eventually be an animated series. I believe it aired on the USA Network, and it was like worlds beyond better than this piece of shit, but that's for another time. I just wanted to talk about my personal disappointment with all these tangible things that were coming out in the late 90s, mid-90s. So allegedly, and this is allegedly, the script was so bad for Mortal Combination that most of the principal actors refused to return. There were also contract disputes due to people not being paid properly. There were some actors that were like, hey, I'm going to make X, and the movie made a ton of money, and I'm going to get more money on the back end. Lyndon Ashby, who played Johnny Cage, would not return because he read the script and it was so bad and incomplete. And we're going to get to more about Lyndon's thoughts later. But truth be told, the studio offered many of the principal actors less money than they had been paid for the previous film. And I think at the end of the day, when you're being offered less money and you read a script that is somehow inferior to the film Mortal Kombat, because look, man, in the 90s, this was still kind of new shit. Like, you know, we got the Street Fighter movie. Like, Hollywood hadn't quite figured it out. Like, if you think about, like, Street Fighter the movie or Mortal Kombat Annihilation, you compare it to something like Minecraft, it's insane, like, how far we've come, because I really have never played Minecraft, but I found the film to be absolutely delightful. In every sense, it was really a delight to watch. They did justice to that property. That being said, it took us a long time to get there. I mean, we had stuff like Tomb Raider, and Tomb Raider wasn't a very good movie, but Angelina Jolie looked so hot on that poster, and she was she was a red hot star. It was like, I think we would have gone to see her wash her laundry. It would have been like Angelina Jolie in Spin Cycle, because she was just so beautiful, and we would have watched her do anything. The world was enamored with her. So it's crazy because even now in 2025, a recent story came out that Activision was looking for active pitches for Call of Duty. Like, yes, they're turning Call of Duty into a film. They gave it to Spielberg, and they said, Spielberg, come back with a pitch. And they were like, nah, this is not what we want. Can you imagine being so powerful and so that you can just tell Steven Spielberg, go fuck yourself? Like, that, to me, that's like insane. But we talked about this before, producer Pete and I, you know, like the show, The Studio, they use it as a bargaining chip. You know, there's like a dude they really want to direct it, and they're like, hey, listen, man, we offered this to Spielberg, and now we're offering it to you. And now, of course, that younger director's like, oh, shit, man, I love Spielberg, because if I was the younger director, I'd be like, Close Encounters? You turned the guy who made E.T. down? Ooh, well, I guess this is a pretty sweet piece of fruit, and I should do the Call of Duty movie. Call of Duty is a shooter, and it can be anything you want it to be. You can get as creative as you want. You're going to have to get pretty fucking creative to make a Call of Duty movie. The other thing is, how do you make a Call of Duty movie and it's not rated R? I mean, there's kids just all day on Call of Duty, like doing like headshot. Like, you need, like, listen, that Call of Duty movie, it better have some heads exploding. That's all I'm saying. If it doesn't have any heads exploding, don't call me. I'm busy that day. Basically, New Line Cinema felt that if Batman could be recast, why can't we just change these characters out? They said, oh, well, Batman's been, you know, they had Michael Keaton, now it's Val Kilmer, it's going to be George Clooney. Who cares? Nobody gives a shit. These kids are stupid. And that's the mistake. That is the big mistake that New Line Cinema makes. They say to themselves, kids are dumb, they don't give a shit, just put the characters on the screen, we'll figure it out later. So only Robin Shou, who is, you know, obviously he's great as Liu Kang. He's fantastic. He's like my favorite part of this first film. He was in a lot of Hong Kong action films. He should have been a bigger star. Like, there should have been like 100 martial arts movies with him. He's great, great actor, great martial artist. And Talja Soto, who is, honestly, I hate to say this, but she is where charisma dies. Like, she literally has, and if you thought she was bad in the first film, in this movie, some of her line deliveries are just like, you're just standing like, how did someone do this and say like, okay, was this take 34? And they were like, this is the one. This is as good as Talja Soto can produce it. She's terrible. She might be one of the worst parts of this film, and that's saying a lot. Every other core character would be recast, except for those two. Its storyline for this was largely an adaptation for Mortal Kombat 3, following Earthrealm's warriors into their battle against Shao Kahn. But also, for the record, there were plot elements from Mortal Kombat 4 that ended up being cut out by the studio from the final film because they thought it was too confusing. It's like, listen, these kids are stupid. They're just going to get stoned and watch this movie. They don't give a shit. But also, Midway was kind of pissed at the studio because they were like, listen, we're coming out with Mortal Kombat 4. We have to push this. So we would really hope that you could integrate all these elements. And this is a problem. This is a problem when we talk about trends and tropes, but this is a problem with trends. And one of the trends was that you have these corporate entities, which the film, the IP is based on, and they're kind of like trying to interject stuff. And the studio is like, oh man, you really want, we just did this. It's Mortal Kombat 3. Don't they know that? They're like, nah, but we've got, at the end of the year, we got the 4th game coming out. Can you stick some more stuff in there? So nobody knows what the hell they're doing. Some heads at New Line figured, why even bother write a script? Just give the kids the video game on the big screen. They're stupid. They don't know any better. New Line was going through a phase of restructuring internally. They were coming out of the Freddy Krueger Ninja Turtles era and started making their way into kind of like big blockbuster films. And they saw Mortal Kombat as a way to make more money in order to finance projects that they were trying to get off the ground. Most notably, Lord of the Rings and Freddy vs. Jason, which both of those franchises and films had been in development hell since the early 90s. Now, the budget for this film would be sizably higher for the sequel, $30 million to be exact. We should get into it, though, because rumors, allegedly, the budget was closer to $40 million. But that's all hearsay. New Line Cinema may not have believed in the movie, but they at least gave it a couple of bucks, decent budget. New Line Cinema had a clear plan. While the original attracted casual moviegoers as well as gamers, Annihilation was catered exclusively to the game's fans, because they said, all right, we got lucky the first time. Casual moviegoers enjoyed this movie and they came to it. So why even bother with that? Let's just make it a hardcore gamer movie. Producer Lawrence Kasanoff said that he was trying to make the film even more spectacular than the first movie, and I can tell you right now, he did not succeed. Our first theme for the sequel was to shoot more fights, more special effects, more Outworld, more everything. Right out the gate, they called director Paul W.S. Anderson, and he's like, listen, I'm not interested. I'm working with Paramount right now. I'm developing an original science fiction horror film. It's called Event Horizon, which to this day is an amazing film and an absolute classic. It's a banger. If you haven't seen Event Horizon, make that happen. They were in such a rush to get this film off the ground, they decided, why not just get the director of photography? He shot the first one. He knows what he's doing from the first film. He knows. So they got DP John R. Leonetti, who would be named the director. Most credible people in the industry were afraid to do video game movies as they felt it would poison their career. To make things even worse, if this is possible, John R. Leonetti, fantastic director of photography, had never directed anything. Anything. He didn't. This was like one of his only films that he directed. Producer, what can we call him, Larry? Enough with this Lawrence. Larry Kasanoff made a huge mistake on top of this decision. He promoted everyone who had worked on the first film to higher positions, whether they were qualified or not. So almost immediately he realized this was a mistake. People who were production assistants were going to be script supervisors in this movie. And they didn't know. And listen, I think it's cool what he did. He's like, hey, look, if you're loyal and you're a part of this MK family, we're going to promote you. You're going to have more of a hands-on approach to this film. But the problem was the production assistant who was getting Liu Kang coffee in the first movie doesn't know how to be a script supervisor and probably wasn't qualified to do that job. But guess what? Old Uncle Larry doesn't give a shit. We're promoting everybody. He even said they promoted everyone too quickly to positions that were way above their skill set. So there's your first mistake of 3,000. Now, the writer of the first film, Kevin Droney, passed on writing the sequel to write this god-awful Wing Commander adaptation. Does anybody remember Wing Commander? Yes, that was a real thing that came out. It was basically a Freddie Prinze Jr., Matthew Lillard vehicle. Can you imagine? Remember the days when you're like, listen, I've got Freddie Prinze Jr., I've got Matthew Lillard, and they're like, that's it. That's all we need. Those are the guys. You got Lillard, you got Prince. What are we doing? We got a movie. Wow. It was a vehicle for them, no pun intended. Wing Commander was terrible. How terrible was Wing Commander Producer Pete? I fucking walked out of it. I watched maybe a half hour of it, and I said, that's it. I'm out. I'm done. Fuck this movie. Fuck Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard. I'm sorry, guys. Not sorry. Larry then hired 2 hack writers. I'm not even mentioning these guys. You'll see it on the IMDb. You don't give a shit. And then he promoted himself to the 3rd writer. He was the 3rd ghost writer on this movie, which was also a huge mistake. Why, Jerry? Because Larry had never written a fucking thing. And he said, you know what? I can shepherd this. So everybody who worked on that first film and everybody who stayed on the production team was like, all right, we're going to level up, bro. This is MK Annihilation, MK2. We're going to take it to the next level, bro. And they made all these kind of like ill choices of promoting everyone. James Remar, genre legend, Warriors, 48 Hours, Dexter. He would be our new Raiden, and God, does he stink up this role. If you want to talk about a guy that is not Chinese, Christopher Lambert from Highlander, say what you will about this or that, but he was good. He worked as Raiden. People liked Raiden. Lyndon Ashby, Johnny Cage, was sent a script because he had a multi-picture deal for more sequels. Once he saw the script, he said he wouldn't appear unless there was some kind of a rewrite. Now, as you know, this pissed Larry off. So as revenge for Ashby not taking the role, they killed Johnny Cage in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Like, yo, there's Petty, and this is like Tom Petty. This is some crazy shit. This is like, you don't want to do Mortal Kombat 2? Fuck you. We're going to recast you and kill you in the first 5 minutes. And let me tell you something. When you're watching this movie and you see that they kill Johnny Cage, you're like, oh, fuck, what are we doing? Even like in this new movie, they knew the new Mortal Kombat 2, we got to get somebody decent for Johnny Cage, and they got Carl Urban. God, this is the thorn in my side. We did this episode specifically to cash in on the all-important algorithm. That's right. Jerry does some sneaky things, and this was one of my sneaky things. I'm like, oh boy, Mortal Kombat's going to be in the zeitgeist. This is what happens. Mortal Kombat 2 was scheduled for October 24th of this year. The movie tested so good. Warner Brothers said it was like one of the best movies they've tested in the last 5 years. They're like, fuck this. This needs to be a summer blockbuster. So now they're releasing Mortal Kombat 2 with Carl Urban in May. So they have fucked us. See, you see? New Line Cinema fucked us with Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and here we are almost 30 years later, and guess what? They're still putting the old screws to Uncle Jerry. You gave me a shitty movie when I was a kid, and now you delay the good movie. Fuck you, New Line Cinema, which is now owned by Warner Brothers Communications. Now, allegedly, Johnny Cage was to come back as a new Ghost Warrior at the end of this movie, but they decided not to shoot it because they were so over schedule or something. Again, there's like a million things that were supposed to happen in this movie, but they don't because they went over budget. They went over time. Again, $30 million budget, allegedly $40 million. It's not alleged. It's not even alleged. They went $10 million over. The production was a disaster, even from jump. In fact, years later, Lyndon Ashby would be quoted as saying, "You can't just go, oh, I can recast them," which is what he did, and it sucked. And the second movie sucked ass. What fucking morons. How? This is him. This is Lyndon Ashby, not me. How would you like to see Empire Strikes Back, but Han Solo is played by somebody else? It's the same characters, but different people are suddenly playing them. You go, that's not them, and that's not how fans respond. Lyndon, I couldn't agree more. Bridget Wilson, she was a hottie. Woo, Bridget Wilson. Blow your socks off in 1995. She played Sonya Blade, decided not to come back in order to do I Know What You Did Last Summer. Probably the better choice there. Lawrence Kasanoff responded, this was to Lyndon Ashby and Bridget Wilson, "The thing that happens with sequels is now that everybody wants twice the money, 10 times the money. In some cases, they deserve it, and in other cases, they don't. Midway, who is making a fourth game, are saying, hey, you promised us a movie, and you've got to deliver because we've got a game to promote. The TV network says, well, listen, I can launch next September, but if you're going to have a movie now, and you need to have all these things, and there's a ripple effect, and if you take them away, and hey, Warner Brothers replaced Batman constantly, and it still works. I hate to say this, but this movie was all business and money." I cannot believe that after all these years, Lawrence Kasanoff and Lyndon Ashby, two people that the world does not give a fuck about, are just like having this shade battle where they're just going back and forth at conventions, like telling each other like, hey, this is business. And Lyndon Ashby, no one gives a shit about him. Now, for the rumors that I've heard that this movie cost $40 million, not the $30 million, it is, from what I have done my research, they say that it's true. A lot of that was due to expensive sets that were built internationally, allegedly. I think this whole movie was a Ponzi scheme. Listen, I'm watching this movie. Producer Pete and I got the movie on now. Where did the $40 million go? I want to know. I'm thinking it went in Larry's pocket. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this money, they were like, oh yeah, we got to shoot all these scenes. And then like some executives from Warner Brothers were like, yoink, nope, we're going to put it in our pocket.
We'll be right back with more of The Offering with Jerry Horror.
The term cult film itself refers to the subculture that surrounds underground films and midnight movies. A cafe is usually a small and informal establishment serving various refreshments in an intimate and inviting setting. What do you get when you combine the two? You get the Cult Cafe, located at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, New York. Every Saturday night at 10 p.m., Cult Cafe brings you the best in cult film and beloved classics, curated with care, especially for a devoted fan base of cinephiles. Cult Cafe is where box office bombs are resurrected, and more obscure, transgressive films, shunned by the mainstream, can find a home beautifully projected on a large silver screen. Past movies screened at the Cult Cafe include David Cronenberg's Videodrome, Frank Henenlotter's Basket Case, John Carpenter's The Thing, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, Victor Bonacor's Thrust, and Richard Kelly's Donnie Darko. Man, the programming there is on point. For tickets and showtimes, head on over to cinemaartscenter.org to find a listing of films, or add Cult Cafe on Facebook to find a series of upcoming events. There really is nothing like seeing an old favorite in a theater full of your fellow movie fans. Hey, maybe I'll even see you there. Cinema will never die at the Cult Cafe. Stay spooky all year long at Strangelove Parlor, Long Island's exquisite oddities and curiosity parlor in Lindenhurst, New York. They've got some ghastly apparel. Strangelove Parlor supplies an array of goth jewelry, unisex horror-themed gear, Halloween accoutrement, monstrous purses and wallets, spooky pins, patches, and stickers, providing you with the most wonderful and the most strange of treasures. Visit Strangelove Parlor regularly to find the item of your dreams, or perhaps even your nightmares. Grab your ghoul gang and visit today. Strangelove Parlor in Lindenhurst, Long Island, New York. Listeners and fans of The Offering can get their hands on their very own The Offering with Jerry Horror merch, now only at TeePublic. Find your own fresh The Offering with Jerry Horror high-quality merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, long sleeves, stickers, and mugs. Just like the show, we've got gear that's mostly horror, always genre. The Offering with Jerry Horror TeePublic store has everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Folks, head on over to teepublic.com right now and pick up your very own Offering tee today. You're listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. Got a question or story you want to share with me? It might be featured in a future episode. Email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at jerryhorror. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there at jerryhorror. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcast, and you might find your review in an upcoming episode. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Offering. Now back to the show.
Round 2. Fight!
Director John R. Leonetti was so overwhelmed with the scope of production, he even began having panic attacks. During the 6-month shoot, it was even said that he was close to a nervous breakdown. I mean, come on, man. This guy's like a first-time director. I mean, he's DP'd a ton of shit, but directing a movie is, a whole different animal. Now, Paul W.S. Anderson was quoted as saying, "I know for a fact they didn't have a very happy time on the movie. The second movie had a lot of troubles. I didn't want to go back and make the sequel. And the problems they had this time around were the reasons why I didn't want to go back. And that was because Midway was forcing in. They're like, oh, we need Nightwolf in the movie. And the people who wrote the script are like, who the fuck is Nightwolf? They're like, oh, Nightwolf's got to be in it. So Nightwolf and Jade, they have like these two scenes, and there's no context because, and this is like we talk about Marvel, Doomsday, Secret Wars, whatever the fuck they're shooting now, they don't have a script. And imagine spending $500 million not having a script. Imagine having $30 million and still not having a script, where we're like, well, Midway just called me and they said Nightwolf had better be in this fucking movie. So guess what? We're sticking him in the movie, even if we don't have any logical thing for the character to do. Anderson said, this is, again, another allegedly, that the director called him and it was like 3 a.m. and he was like, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, this whole thing is a train wreck. And Anderson was alluding to the fact that people at New Line Cinema, Threshold Entertainment, and NetherRealm had more control over this film than the director did. And they essentially hired a stooge that they could control. See, that's why they didn't bring in a credible director. They said, bring in the guy who was the DP. It's exactly what they did with Spawn, previous episode. Sick plug for those keeping score at home. Spawn had this similar problem where they were just putting things in the movie because creator Todd McFarlane wanted them, and they had a video game coming out and other things like that. And that's exactly what happened. They hired a stooge and they got what they paid for. I know it's so dismissive for me to say this about creators, and I do feel guilty. But this is the problem with art and commerce. And whenever you bring in IPs, the people who own the IP want certain things. And now you are not just serving the studio, which is essentially your master, you are serving a corporate entity, which is, a whole nother thing. Oh my God, we just got up to the scene with Jade in a bikini. Holy shit. That works. A lot of things in this movie is fake snow. That doesn't work. But Jade in a bikini in the fake snow, definitely working for old Uncle Jerry in 2025. That's a big W for Mortal Kombat Annihilation, is Jade in a bikini. So they start filming in this the first quarter of 96. The movie was filmed on location at Paris Mountain on the island of Anglesey off the coast of Wales, which incorrectly listed as being a part of England in the closing credits. They don't even know where they shot the movie. That's how problematic this is. Other filming locations included London, Jordan, and Thailand. This new film would be a globe-trotting affair. And again, they were shooting this movie for 6 months. You think about some of these movies that were shot in like 29 days or like 3 weeks, or like a movie that was shot in 90 days. 6 fucking months. You had 6 months to get this right, and you couldn't. You fucking couldn't. Sorry. The first film had been shot on sound stages and primarily in Thailand, and guess what? It was a great movie, okay? Look, there I said it. The first movie's better. I know, shocking. Hey, random fun fact. Do you know who Liu Kang, Robin Shu's stunt double, was in this film? Well, you can see him because there's some really bad edits. It's Tony Jaa, a martial arts superstar from Thailand, Ong Bak, the Protector. He served as Robin Shu's stunt double, and there's quite a few scenes because I'm a total nerd and I have the Blu-ray and I have a pause button. I was like, that's Tony Jaa. And you can see it. Like there's like things where like it's basically one of those things for old martial arts actors where it's like, the hero shot, you see his face, you see what he's doing. But when he gets thrown down a flight of stairs, yeah, it's Tony Jaa. Tony Jaa, he can take the bumps. One of the problems they had with the first movie was the fact that fans felt there weren't enough fights. So they went back with reshoots and shot a bunch of stuff and put more action into the movie. So, the thinking this time was not to worry about the old story too much, but we need to get as many characters from the video game and stick as many fights as possible into the movie. And that's why this movie kind of feels like a porno, where it's like, okay, they talk. What are they talking about? Doesn't matter. They fuck. Okay, they talk. They fuck. And it's like, that's what this movie is. It's like a couple of lines of dialogue. They fight. Couple of lines of dialogue. Okay, more fights. New fights. Who's this guy? I don't know. We'll just stick him in the movie. And if you're a listener of The Offering, you know why this is a bad idea. You can't make movies like this. You can't make a movie without a script. Your script is your Bible, and you stick to it. You stick to the game plan, and your script has to be as good as anything. It has to be the foundation of what the film is built on. So if you don't have a good script, chances are you're not going to have that good of a movie, unless you got like your Timothée Chalamet, and he's swagging out so hard that it's like all the girls are like, oh, so you don't need a script. You got Timothée Chalamet. But you know what? One thing that Mortal Kombat does not have, it doesn't have the Chalamet. If it did, big banger. Now, James Gunn went on record this summer. He took Kevin Feige to task for shooting things with unfinished screenplays. As we've aforementioned, they're having the same problem with Doomsday, where there's actors on a green screen, and what they'll do is they'll tell, like, okay, so Anthony Mackie, who's now Captain America, they'll tell him, all right, so you're going to say this line, and you're going to say, I don't know what to do, and then you insert Doctor Strange. And then you're going to say it again 25 times and say, I don't know what to do, Hulk. I don't know what to do, Spider-Man. And because they're so secretive about what's happening in these movies, that poor Anthony Mackie, and we love Anthony Mackie. Shout out to Anthony Mackie. It's my man. Poor bastard's got to, I mean, hey, they're paying the guy. The guy's getting paid. But he's got to say these lines and just keep saying it over and over again because So what they've been talking about is that some of these actors are being shot on green screens and they don't know, like, there's other people in the room. They're like, okay, so someone's to the right of you. Well, who is it? It might be Captain Marvel. Well, okay, so Captain Marvel's going to be here. Might be Star-Lord. Don't know. It's like fucking George Lucas is running this. Like, George Lucas is writing Doomsday. He's there on set. You know, he's like, maybe it's Saboba. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's Watto. Who fucking knows? Anthony Mackie has no idea. It's like that thing. It's in the special features of Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson's got Ian McKellen on a green screen and he's talking to the hobbits, but he's by himself on a green screen and he has like a fucking breakdown. And he's like, I don't know what I'm doing here, Peter. He's like, no, it'll be fine. Just say the line, say, Mr. Hobbit. And Ian McKellen, as this great actor, is just having, and you can watch it. It's on the Blu-ray. It's on the 4K. Watch it. If you watch any special feature, I don't know, I think it's the Two Towers. He just has a total nervous breakdown where he's like, Peter, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm talking to hobbits or a dragon. What am I talking to? And he's like, it'll be fine. We'll fix it in post. Don't worry about that. Okay, cut. Ian McKellen he's crying. All right, somebody call Kraft. You get Crafty, get him some cobbler. Ian, do you want some cobbler? Sorry, I went too far with that. Back to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, already in progress. All that mattered with the fight scenes was that all the characters from the new game were in the movie, and be damned, it doesn't matter. The story took a back seat trying to sell games and action figures. Nobody gave a shit. The reason the first film works so well is because we take this journey with 3 different characters, and we see them overcome their problems and get closer to their destiny through Mortal Kombat. The first film, you have Johnny Cage, you've got Sonya Blade, you've got Liu Kang, and they're all on a very specific trajectory. Johnny Cage wants to prove to the world that he can fight, that he's not just this like martial arts superstar, loosely based on Jean-Claude Van Damme. Or not so loosely. There's a missed opportunity. You know, they're making this Mortal Kombat 2. They should really have put Van Damme in it. He's do something. He does something. He's like, whatever. We'll figure out something for him to do. Maybe he holds a light. It's terrible. So yeah, the reason that movie works is, and I remember reviews at the time of the original Mortal Kombat were like, this is like Star Wars. These 3 characters are on their very own distinct journey and they experience it together. It's a shared experience and they overcome it. They overcome all their obstacles and it works. Now, you know that it wouldn't be an episode of The Offering if I didn't get an anonymous source. This is a quote from somebody who worked on the film. I would be told, hey, this epic battle that was 4 pages long now needs to be a 2-person battle that's 2 pages long. I remember there was a scene that I don't believe was even in the movie anymore. And if it is, it was much bigger in the script. Jax had to be rescued from this absolutely epic outworld prison. It was going to be this real big prison break sequence. That had to be changed and cut completely. When you cut out a big sequence like that, the whole movie suffers because it was designed to be a big action set piece at a very specific point in the movie. And again, day to day, this script is changing. So this anonymous script doctor was also quoted as saying, I saw a lot of early cuts of the film and I saw a lot of dailies. There were so many things that have been cut and so many things that have been shot different than the way that they were written. Entire characters and plot points were written out of the film. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how the scene turned out. All right, then. A lot of people who worked on the movie said that they shot entire sequences. I mean, like big sequences. And they're not in the movie. They just disappeared. Now, at this point, a temporary cut of the film was put together and screened mysteriously for test audiences. Now, this is where shit goes off the rails. Allegedly, the audiences went bonkers for it, and they thought it was amazing. These were some LA screened audiences. You know, it's the whole thing where they put the test audience in there, and they're like, all right, we're about to watch a film. It's Peter Jackson. He's like, I'm going to do anything I can to get this Lord of the Rings made, so I'm here presenting Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So, how fucking stoned were these kids? Did the New Line executives just like, you're gonna fucking hit that bong and we're gonna watch the secret movie? Hit it fucking hard, Johnny. But allegedly, kids went nuts for the test screenings. And they said, like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. So the people at New Line Cinema are like, listen, I know we've had some trouble with this movie and it's gone off the rails and we had to put $10 million more into it. But we showed it to some fucking stoned kids in Los Angeles. They said it's the shit. So, you know what? I'm pretty confident we're just going to put this fucking thing out. Producer Larry Kasnoff said there was supposed to be an entire second pass of visual effects and editing, but New Line said, you know what? It's testing so well, it doesn't fucking matter. It's still going to be a hit. And by the way, it was a hit. Not really. What a dick. The movie didn't have it didn't have finished visual special effects. Like, they had like something like 70 visual effects shots, and this movie had like 300 plus, and most of them weren't finished. So I think what they did was they showed this version, the one that producer Pete and I are watching now that you can watch on Blu-ray or HBO Max, where available. And they said, this is a work print. It's not finished. But guess what? This was the movie. Like, because sometimes, like, they'll screen movies and be like, all right, so Captain Marvel is supposed to be right. Okay, she's not here right now. And then Rocket Raccoon's running around and he's doing stuff. So I want you to imagine that, and don't let it change what you're seeing or your opinion on the scorecards. But they did. They showed this movie, and New Line was just like, all right, whatever. The film was supposed to be edited once more. There was supposed to be another pass of editing, and there was also supposed to be finished visual effects, but they didn't do it. New Line did not give a fuck. If it was good enough for a bunch of stone teens at a Los Angeles test screening, well, then Middle America would love it too, because they're dumb as shit. Sorry, Middle Americans. Quite simply, Mortal Kombat Annihilation was an unfinished film, and they were desperate to dump it in theaters. It was initially supposed to get a big summer release, and they decided to put it out around Thanksgiving. And it's funny because this movie, this Mortal Kombat Annihilation, they're like, well, it's going to be a summer blockbuster. And they're like, ooh, maybe not. Let's put it out Thanksgiving. The kids have off from school. That'll work, right? They knew that it would do its number and make a profit, so they didn't give a shit. Where it's like now you see in 2025, IP is so strong and so important that they're like, oh no, we can't drop this thing in October and help Jerry's algorithm. We need to drop it in summer and totally fuck Jerry Horror over. Because someone at New Line Cinema obviously hates me and producer Pete. I don't know what we did to make enemies with these people, but they're fucking up our shit, and that's not cool. So if you can, when Mortal Kombat 2 drops in theaters in May, please replay this episode because it'll help us, I think. Worse yet, we're going back to the 90s. Worse yet, that's all. Going back to the 90s. Oh man, James Remar has no muscle tone, but Sonya Blade has some big ass titties. Okay, so go back to the 90s. Worse yet, Mortal Kombat 4 would drop September 11th. Ooh. Did something else happen that day? Whatever. Worse yet, Mortal Kombat 4 would drop on September 11th and hit arcades with a resounding thud. And I gotta tell you, Ian Shear, who listens to this podcast, 616 Entertainment, shout out to him. He probably has covered Mortal Kombat Annihilation. He knows the history. So definitely go check his shit out. He's dope. He knows way more than I do about the Mortal Kombat series. But Mortal Kombat 4 sucked. I did not like it. I was there in arcades in 1997, and we were like, what is this? It was unfortunate for this terrible Mortal Kombat sequel that everything with Mortal Kombat, see, here's the thing. This thing had been hot for like 5 years, and it was like, it's a trend. And you know how kids are and how things go. Like, your older brother loves Mortal Kombat, and then he's done with that. But then the younger kids pick it up. It's like the theory of like toys, that the toy cycle is like 3 or 4 years, and then the older brother passes it down to the little brother, and they're done with it. And Mortal Kombat becomes something that your 7-year-old nephew loves, but you're just like, I want to watch Face Off. Unfortunate, the MK craze was over, and the once punk rock IP had become the institution, and fans were bored, despite all of the fantastic cleavage. So let's talk about the release. This 95-minute cobbled-together film would be dropped in theaters on November 21st, 1997. On an alleged $40 million budget, that made $51 million, which was less than half of what the original made. The critical response was terrible. Rotten Tomatoes, Mortal Kombat Annihilation has a 2% rating. Uwe Boll's 2005 Alone in the Dark adaptation, another video game adaptation, which holds the record at a 1% rotten, which I've seen that film too. That's the one with Christian Slater. Ooh, that's a bad movie. It's incoherent. It doesn't even make sense. Jason Gibner of AllMovie wrote, whereas the first film was a guilty schlock pleasure, this sequel is an exercise in the art of genuinely beautiful trash cinema. Now, I don't believe this one. This is Cinema Score. They gave this a grade of C+ on an A+ to F scale. Who's on Cinema Score? What's going on there? You guys using fentanyl? What's happening? Now, Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel did not review Mortal Kombat Annihilation. While they did review the original Mortal Kombat with Gene Siskel, there is an available review from him at rogerebert.com. They rather liked the first film, and they were smart enough to sit this one out. In separate 2012 interviews, Mortal Kombat creators Ed Boon and John Tobias selected Annihilation as the personal worst moments in their history of working on the franchise. Now, home video. Let's talk about the home video release. You know, this is usually where I talk about the home video release. Nobody gave a shit about this movie. No, they put it out on VHS. It eventually came out on DVD. So, in fact, I went and I bought a copy of the Blu-ray because I said, you know what? We're taking The Offering Season 5 seriously. I'm going to spend the $11.99 on the fucking Blu-ray. This was like somebody dumped a body in the woods. They put this thing out on Blu-ray. It's got a trailer for a game and it's got a trailer for the movie, and that's it. No commentary, no nothing. Somebody put this out and it's like, we talk about the porn you find in the woods. It's like this was like somebody's jerk-off rag. They were just like, just put it out. Well, you guys like this, right? Let's put it out. It was almost as someone had dumped this off on Blu-ray just to be sold. Really just terrible. Like, I have to tell you, if you get it in the multi-pack with Mortal Kombat Legacy in the first film, I think you can probably get that for like $10 to $15. That's the way to go. Legacy's pretty cool. And of course, Mortal Kombat is always good, the first film. Hopefully we get a 4K. I'm sure this holiday season they were probably going to put out a 4K, a fully remastered of the first film. But I think now with the other film dropping in May, they're going to put that off to coincide, just like we did with this episode. Boy, Warner Brothers New Line, you really screwed us on this one. Got to tell you, not happy with you guys. It's like I've got any fucking sway somewhere in the studio system. Like Jerry Horror was very upset. It's like the old days with Harry Knowles. Like, oh no, Harry Knowles, the Green Lantern wasn't very good. Fuck, we're fucked. Like now it's like nobody gives a shit what I say. They're just like, yeah, we're going to put it out in 4K. Who the fuck is Jerry Horror? Anyway, I got to get to my next meeting. And this is where my hot take is, I don't think this film should ever be put on 4K. I think you shouldn't. I think it's better we just leave it on Blu-ray. It becomes an archaeological fact. And it's kind of like the Ark of the Covenant. When you find it, you open it, and you're just kind of fucked. You're like, oh man, I bought this for $11.99 on Amazon. What did I do? And you know what? You deserve what you get. Because, yeah, oh yeah, by the way, this came out on VHS and eventually DVD. Did I say? Nobody gives a shit. For the record, especially for the one I own, the Blu-ray, and I got to tell you, I own this Blu-ray, it is cursed. As soon as I took the Blu-ray out of the PS5, I put it back in its case, and I'm like, I just hit it a bunch of other movies. Like I threw it to the bottom of the pile. I'm like, I don't ever want to see this again. It's my dirty jerk-off rag. It really is. Listen, I feel dirtier owning this film than like fisting porn. Like somebody comes over and they're like, wow, what are your weird tastes in porn? And they're like, oh God, you're into this? Is clown porn? What is this? This is gross. That's how I feel. Somebody comes to my house and I'm like, you own Mortal Kombat Annihilation on Blu-ray? I'm like, yeah, I do. Let's get to the canceled sequel, because this is probably my favorite part of this whole story. Robin Shu's original contract was a 3-picture deal with Threshold Entertainment's production, and a second sequel was initially scheduled to commence shortly after the release of Annihilation, but it was shelved due to Annihilation's poor reception and disappointing box office. Now, it's crazy because attempts continued to produce a third film, and it remained stuck in development hell, with numerous scripts, storyline, cast, and crew changes. The November 2001 poll on the Mortal Kombat website, it was hosted by Threshold, they asked fans which characters they believe would die or be in a third film. They went into production. They started building sets. And the destruction of New Orleans by Hurricane Katrina was greatly affected because they built all the sound stages in New Orleans, and they got destroyed by Hurricane Katrina. It was really a shame, and I'm going to tell you why it was a shame, because they were ready to go. And this is insane. I never knew this. Christopher Lambert, Lyndon Ashby, everybody was coming back for the sequel. And they, just because the sets got destroyed, they were like, this is cursed, we shouldn't do it. And the whole thing with this third Mortal Kombat movie was that it was going to be course correction for the franchise and a way to make up for the lackluster second film. Now, in June 2009, a bankruptcy court lawsuit saw Larry Kasanoff suing Midway Games and mentioning that a third film was in the works. Warner Brothers, which obviously became the parent company of New Line in 2008, after a decade of operating as separate divisions, ended up purchasing most of Midway's assets, including Mortal Kombat. So obviously, what did they do? Well, after they acquired the assets of Midway, they said, we're just going to do our own thing and have no more input. We'll talk to the guys at NetherRealm, but this is going to be its own thing. And they released the rebooted film in Mortal Kombat 2021. And man, was that I went to theaters? I went to the IMAX to see that. The rules, it was that COVID era. They brought it out on HBO Max day and date. Remember that? Remember those pandy days where they did that on HBO Max? They'd be like, you can go see it in the theater, but if you have a shitty immune system or you just don't want to fuck with people, we'll put it on HBO Max. So what did Uncle Jerry do? Because he's got the Mortal Kombat thing tattooed on his chest. What did he do? I went to the theater. I said, fuck it, we're in a pandemic. I ain't got shit going on. I'm unemployed. You had to sit. This was in a fucking IMAX. You had to sit 2 rows and 6 seats away from a person. There were all these wacky rules. You had to wear a face mask, and you weren't allowed to take it off, only unless you were going to eat your popcorn and be a big fat slob. Dude, the early pandemic movie-going experience was nightmarish. More nightmarish than anything Mortal Kombat could come up with, because it was terrible. But it was crazy because you couldn't have this genuine audience reaction to this film because the closest dude is sitting 3 rows away from you, and you have to sit 6 seats away from the other person. So I was like in the back, and I was like, yeah, Sub-Zero. And some other guy down front was like, yeah, Sub-Zero. It was just the fucking worst thing ever. So I was really pumped, man. This October, it's spooky season, but old Uncle Jerry loves some fatalities. Man, sometimes I just sit there, I watch a video of fatalities. I don't know what's wrong with me. Seriously, Producer Pete, we really need to get me some help. I really shouldn't be watching videos of fatalities. There's something wrong with me. In 2025, we will finally get... in 2026, we will finally get Mortal Kombat 2 as the Elder Gods intended, with Carl Urban as Johnny Cage, who we love on The Boys. Let us hope that his charisma can redeem all that we lost with Mortal Kombat Annihilation. What's the conclusion? What is the ultimate conclusion? In an interview for Luke Owen's book, Lights, Camera, Game Over, producer Lawrence Kasanoff revealed the film was released unfinished. I'm telling you, the effects in this movie are not the final effects. I never anticipated that someone would take the movie and go, it's good enough. We weren't done. We weren't finished with Mortal Kombat Annihilation. But the studio said, we don't care. So we sacrificed quality for business. And as of August 2025, Hollywood producer and innovator Larry Kasanoff remains active, with his autobiography A Touch of Madness being the focus on his speeches and visual presentation at colleges across the country, and most notably producing the upcoming Mortal Kombat 2, where he plans to correct a mistake he made 28 years ago with the first Mortal Kombat sequel. So what's the lesson here? Well, you'll fail upwards in Hollywood, but the real lesson is it's never too late to try again. And if you take away anything, we know that this movie has been a thorn in the side of Larry Kasanoff. for 28 years. And now, not this year, in 29 years, he will now be able to course correct the mistake he made with this movie. And I think that even like the guys over at Threshold, well, the Threshold doesn't exist anymore, but the guys over at NetherRealm, they're like, all right, we're going to redeem ourselves and we're going to make a good movie. And I think that's all that matters at the end of the day. You know, you've still got a lot of people, and you know, there's like shit, like with this Mortal Kombat 2, get Robin Shou. Don't get Talia Soto, she's terrible. But get Robin Shou, get Lyndon Ashby, throw him in a cameo. So a dumb little fat kid like me can sit there in his short pants and with his big popcorn and Dr. Pepper, his best friends. And I go, yeah, look, it's Lyndon Ashby. Oh my God. Because I'm a dumb fat kid and I don't give a shit. I'll sit there and I'll be like, look, it's Robin Shou. Look, that's the original Liu Kang. Make Liu Kang the master. Do fucking something. Give back. Give back because there is a fandom here. I guarantee you, it's even the new trailer for this Mortal Kombat 2 movie. They mashed up Mobb Deep and Wu-Tang. Come on, most kids don't know who Wu-Tang and Mobb Deep are now. They don't give a shit. They're listening to new stuff. But you know, dumb little fat kid me, I know that. I know Wu-Tang. Hey, it's Wu-Tang Clan. I know all this stuff. So it's very obvious who this is marketed towards. It's elder millennials and Gen Xers. Let's face it. Who are we kidding? You know? I don't know what the takeaway here is. When you have the responsibility of taking something beloved and turning it into a motion picture, I don't know. I think the things that they did back in the day in the 90s would never get away with it now. It becomes that thing where it's too big to fail. And if you have a property like this, you say to yourself, we want an HBO Max series. We want 3 more movies. We want animated stuff. And they've done those animated films. They've been pretty good. They would never allow a film like Mortal Kombat Annihilation to be released today because there's too much at stake. You see, even now, they know it's a hot property. They pulled it from October and they're putting it out in May. They know what they're doing because they've got a good hot hand to play, like if you're playing, you know, blackjack. What does it all really mean? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm saying all these things that producer Pete's like, oh my God, he's losing his mind over here. I think what it means is that you have to put out quality stuff because the fans will jump down your throat. If you put out a movie and they're not happy with it, you're never going to hear the end of it. Like, you think you had a problem with Mortal Kombat Annihilation. If Mortal Kombat 2 comes out, because don't forget, that was the baby steps in the infancy of the internet. You know, we had dial-up, like AOL and shit like that. People weren't really online the way they are terminally now. Yo, if Mortal Kombat 2 is bad, you're going to hear about it. Not just from the fans, but from me. Go check out my reviews on Instagram, TikTok, all that other bullshit. YouTube. Go subscribe. Go like. Go smash that fucking like button. Go to Letterboxd. Go to all these things. You know what? Just fucking shut the show off now. Go on your fucking phone and say, oh my God, how can I get Jerry Horror in my ear and eye holes? Well, you can. I'm available. Fatality. Jerry wins.
Final round. Fight!
You know what? It's time for my favorite part of the show. It's time for Unhinged Review, kids. Look, and this is a weird thing. I didn't think this would happen. So I went and I started looking at reviews, and there's a shit ton of 5-star reviews for this movie. There's like a lot of people who love this movie, and they are fucking... I can't even read their Unhinged reviews, Producer Pete, because they're so long. These people wrote like novels. They're like, and because they have to defend it, they're like, and I think this Sonya Blade was better. I think she was better. She had bigger boobs, and that made the movie better. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. So I got to read you the bottom of the barrel wackos. I only want the wackos. Give me the whack pack like Howard Stern used to. This is from Anonymous, obviously. Nobody wants to be caught writing this shit. 1 out of 5 stars. Save Your Money is the title. Reviewed in the United States on April 16th, 2023. This description was very misleading. I thought that this was the Mortal Kombat 2 movie that was coming out, but I was wrong. This movie doesn't come out until June or July. Just a waste of money. So you thought it was the movie that was coming out, but they put a fucking special version on Blu-ray, and you're like, guys, that Mortal Kombat 2, it's coming out. No, they got it on Blu-ray on Amazon. You know what? You deserve what you got, you fucker. If you thought that this was the sequel with Carl Urban, get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. This one's by Renee. 1 out of 5 stars. Title, Sexist. Review, Sexist. How is this movie sexist? Like, I mean, like, all the girls look hot, but there's nothing sexist. They're all fighting too. You know, I mean, this would be a sexist movie if, like, Liu Kang was like, no, Sonya Blade, please sit down and fix your makeup while I fight these Mortal Kombat enemies. That would be sexist. In fact, there are more bare-chested men in this movie than any women. You're not getting any boobs. You want male nipples? You got tons of them. You can see more naked men in this movie than women. So, Renee, I'm going to give you the business here and say that you get to see a lot more naked men. Mintaro? I don't know his fucking... I don't give a shit. That's when I kind of tuned out. You know, I discovered girls and drugs. Once we get to Mortal Kombat 3, old Uncle Jerry, you know what he's up to. He doesn't give a shit about Mortal Kombat. I was going through that phase. Jason Fisher, 1 out of 5 stars. Title of the review is 1 star. Can no longer watch it. Took it off. Upsetting. It's almost like he's sitting there watching old home videos of his grandma, like, shut it off. I can't see Grandma Dolores like this. Like, that's how I felt. That's how I felt. I put this fucking movie on. I started washing the dishes. I was doing like 100 other things. I was like, maybe I should get the crumbs under the couch. I'm like, yep, gonna do that. Gonna just hit a quick vacuum while Mortal Kombat Annihilation is on. But I love this review. Can no longer watch it. Like, there was a point in time, and that's really what it is. When you're a kid, you're like a dumb little fat kid. You're just like, yeah, you pop in that VHS and you watch it 10 times. You're like, Mortal Kombat. You yell it in your backyard and you kick your brother, and then everybody has to go to the emergency room because you kicked them too hard. Oh man, it's good times. J. Alford, 1 out of 5 stars. Title of the review, Jax Can't Fight. Damn, son. Jax can't fight. Shao Kahn is the same height as Raiden. What does that matter? Bruce Lee was like one of the baddest men on the planet, and dude was like 5'6" or whatever. Shao Kahn is the same height as Raiden. What are you saying about short kings? Shao Kahn is taking orders. Jade seducing Liu Kang looks sleazy. Yeah, and listen, there ain't much going on in this movie other than the mud fight. You know that there was like a divorced dad who took his kids to this movie, and he was like, hot damn, there's a mud fight. Divorced dad was awake for 5.5 minutes and then went back to sleep. Rain and Ermac serve no purpose. They don't really serve a purpose in the game either. They're like doppelganger characters. Back to Jax. This guy's really, and I think it's because he's a black man. I think this guy, Jay Alfred's a racist. Back to Jax. His punchlines were weak from the start. Flawed failure. No shit, dude. I mean, look. I watched this movie I was ashamed to watch. If I didn't have to do this episode, I would not have bought this film on Blu-ray. Let alone would I let anybody know that I own this film. People talk about guilty pleasures. This is not a pleasure at all. This just makes me feel guilty. Take the pleasure out of that whole thing. I feel completely disgusting. Oh, by the way, Mintaro, I think that's his name. He's played by one of the American Gladiators. I think that was Laser. For all my AG fans out there who are like, you didn't talk about Laser. I don't even know I don't even give a shit. That's the thing too. With this movie, I know it's got its hardcore fans because I went and saw those 5-star reviews. But at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit about this movie. And if you do, there's something wrong with you. It really is just terrible.
Finish him!
I would love to read some of these longer reviews, but they're completely batshit crazy and far too long. There are so many people who will defend this film. And look, that's fine. If you love this movie and it was like a big cinematic thing, or you have a good memory of you and your little brother seeing it, and you guys used to play Mortal Kombat together, that's totally cool. I'm not here just to bash cinema, even though it is considered a war crime in some countries, this film. If you like a movie, that's okay. If you love a movie, that's okay. Don't trust my opinion. Listen, don't trust anyone's opinion. You know, there's a lot of folks out there where they listen to influencers, they listen to critics, and they take it as the gospel truth. If you sat down, you take a couple of bong hits with your friends, and you say, man, this is really cool. Remember this? We love this movie. It used to play after WCW Nitro, you know, whatever. You guys remember that? They had that guy Glacier, who was a Sub-Zero ripoff. I'm sure Ian Shear has a whole episode about Glacier. Ian, You get on that video. You get on that video about Glacier. We need to know the story. With that being said, if you like a movie, who cares? If it brings you joy, what harm does it bring, right? This isn't like you're doing cocaine. It's Mortal Kombat Annihilation is a hell of a drug. Folks, I hope you've had a good time with me. I hope we learned some things about Mortal Kombat Annihilation and why it basically is a form of eye rape. Truly, these special effects are terrible. I've never seen such terrible special effects. But again, can we hold it against the people who made this film? They've all gone on record and they've said, listen, this was an unfinished film, and they just shoved it into theaters. So again, that's the trend here today, folks, that they don't care. Nowadays, they're very precious with IP, but back in the day, they're just going to shove it out there. And if some stoned kids from Los Angeles at 3 p.m. said it was a good movie, well, then I guess it must be. And if you like it, that's okay. Got a lot of stuff coming up this season, and guess what? If you've made it this far into the episode, I want you to write Mortal Kombat! Mortal Kombat! In all caps with exclamation points, because Jesus Christ, we deserve it. You deserve it. Thank you for coming on this journey with us about the behind-the-scenes torment, torture that it was to make a sequel to Mortal. This wasn't. Oh my God, it's not fucking rocket science, man. You got all these games. You got Mortal Kombat. You got all this mythology and lore. Dude, you could have made a good movie, but you didn't. You didn't even give a shit. It's just fight, 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 talk, fight, 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 fight. Producer Pete, I am enraged. I really am. This was not rocket science. And the other thing too is like, Robin Shou has this fantastic physique, but he doesn't take off his shirt. Am I being sexist now? I'm being sexist. I'm saying, Liu Kang, he's wearing this deep V-neck. It's like something Joel McHale would wear, you know? Like to a fucking... Joel McHale shows up to your baby's christening and he's got this deep V-neck and people are like, dude, I can see his happy trail. That's neither here nor there. Listen, I hope you guys have had a fun time. Don't forget, give us some good reviews. I'll read them on air. Spread the word. Spread the gospel, brother. Of the offering with your old pal Jerry Hara. Listen, this has been The Offering with your old pal Jerry Hara. No, how do I say the outro? I say, this has been The Offering. I'm your host, Jerry Hara. It's a good show? No, please leave this all in because it's pathetic. Okay, this time I'm really gonna do it. I'm Jerry Hara. This has been The Offering. Mostly horror, always genre. You've been listening to The Offering with Jerry Hara, produced by Pete Bune. If you have a question or story you want to share with me, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me at theofferingwithjerryhara@gmail.com, or hit us up on Twitter at theofferingwjh, or hit me up on the Instagram at Jerry Hara. You get the picture? Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Join us next time for another offering.
Chasing worries like Omaya, drama twists that shake your core. Every episode, we craving more. Mostly horror, always genre.
This has been a Sick Boy Wolfgang production. Thank you for listening.
Flawless victory.